Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to spend some time with us this morning in what I hope you'll see is a fantastic college. And it's an actual privilege to host you this morning and to give you that opportunity to share with us our hopes and dreams, really, for what we're trying to achieve here in Richmond and, of course, wider around sort of London and the effect that we have on that. So this week, we're here to celebrate National Apprenticeship Week. And apprenticeship, you may know, sort of predate many of our thoughts really in terms of the history. So apprentices sort of originated back in medieval times, based around then the craft guilds, and by the Middle Ages, by the Tudor period, they were very popular and were seen as the credible way of being taught and to be taught. 1563 was the Statute of Articles, which was the first formal act that created the first national apprenticeship system. And since then, we've had various iterations of that system. And of course, now we have new modern apprenticeships, which are very different to what we ever had in the past. Back in when the first act was introduced, apprentices back then were actually for 7 years. And it was back, if you remember, the phrase indentured. And that was something where there was a commitment between the master and the apprentice. And that bond and that commitment was for the master to train that apprentice. Back then, it was also about you would pay, but you'd also give them board and lodgings as well. And the reason I talk about that is because there's something really important, looking back into the history, about what we're trying to embrace now. And that is the bond that exists between the employer, the business, and the apprentice. And now, of course, it's our role in supporting that bond, in giving the apprentice a fantastic insight into getting that brilliant training and that support that we know apprentices need. So we're here this week to celebrate that system and that bond that creates really fantastic opportunities for all of the young people that choose to do that. But why apprenticeships? Because we have a great education system in going to university and higher education. Well, the benefits of apprenticeships are actually there's a career route and a progression opportunity for everyone. You can now become a doctor through an apprenticeship route. You can be a lawyer, you can be a nurse, you can be an engineer. So all those traditional things apprenticeships used to service, there's now an apprenticeship opportunity for everybody. And that's really exciting because it means all young people now have an opportunity to go to university or actually think about their job and their progression through an apprenticeship. And what makes apprenticeship special, as I said, is that bond. And so why for you, why for business, and why is that really important? Well, what I hope together, some of the work we're going to be able to do is actually help you understand what are the characteristics and the things that you need in a really fantastic apprentice to serve your particular job. And actually, the work and that bond starts way before the actual apprenticeship starts. It's about understanding what your needs are as a business, about the sort of skill sets you need from people and young people. So that what we're doing then is helping actually shape and find those young people to put the right individual into those apprenticeship opportunities. And that's really special, that personalisation, that attention, some of the conversation I've been having with you this morning, that personalisation and service and that commitment to service is so important for businesses to have confidence that they're getting somebody that's going to be really fantastic in their workforce. And of course, for the apprentice, huge opportunities and benefits. You earn a wage, and you actually get to work and learn together. You don't get student debt. And for some students, that's worth £100,000. So you're £100,000 better off doing an apprenticeship than what you are going to university. Massive benefits, for that apprentice in doing that. Of course, the other huge benefit is you get to actually immerse yourself in the real job, with a real business, talking with real people, doing real life problems, working on real life solutions in industry. And that's really fantastic for students to be able to experience. And of course, what we will say, makes that even better, if that wasn't a strong enough sell on its own, actually you get high quality and world-leading training and education alongside that. And so what we're doing, hopefully, is standing with you as business to support your skills pipeline, to work with you to understand what those needs are and actually tailor those training programs for you. So you're confident that you're getting somebody that's going to be fantastic for the business, that's going to stay within the business, and is actually going to be able to get training and progression along the way as we go. And that's why for us, we stand with business celebrating National Apprenticeship Week, because of the benefits it brings to apprentices and the benefits it brings to business in equal measure. And of course, for all of us, we do that because the benefits it brings to business productivity, competitiveness. But for me, there's also something really special about what that does for social mobility and the way that gives opportunities for all young people to actually enter professions and careers that they would never have even thought of. And I think that's something really special. So I just want to finish off by saying thank you so much for being here this morning. Thank you for celebrating and standing with us and standing for the benefits of what apprenticeships offer. We're committed as HRUC to offer an apprenticeship for everyone that wants one. That's a really bold ambition, but it's something we're going to stand by, and it's something we're really excited to work with you to help make a success. And I'm now going to pass you over to Gavin, who's going to say a few words about what we're going to do specifically here at Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Keith. Thanks very much. I'm Gavin Hughes. I'm the principal here. I normally don't do. I was a PE teacher for many years. I could stop a pupil at 2 football pitches away if I had to. So I've normally got a booming enough voice. So I'm the principal here at the college. So you're very welcome here. It's great to see you all. You'll have seen that this is a brand new building. This one's 3 years old. The one that you passed on the way in will be open in September. I will stop talking about it being built. It's been going on for years. So that opens in September. We will be the newest college, probably in the country for a while. We'll hold that. And all of our students benefit from the latest. So our STEM building is going to be fantastic. It's all engineering. We've got science labs in there, construction, everything. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be a fantastic year from September. In terms of what we do with apprenticeships, so we're part of the colleges group, you may or may not know. So we're part of Richmond College, Uxbridge College, and Harrow College. So we're sort of taking over the sort of West London arc, if you like. And across that, we run 43 different apprenticeship routes. So we've got 43 of those different going on. We do everything, we do level 2 to level 5 on those. So you can do undergraduate. Level 5 is like a year before degree level. And we do business management at level 5, and we do engineering at level 5 as well. We do level 4, we do accounting at level 4, and engineering at level 4 as well. Harper's nodding to get this right, or someone will tell me. So we go through all the levels with it, and as Keith says, we like to sort of place everybody who wants an apprenticeship. We like to make that offer. So we're open to sort of expanding what we do. We live what we preach. We have 31 of our own apprentices in the building, and we're looking to double that next year. So we're looking to increase that, and it's a fantastic way to get young people engaged. We offer as a service. So some of you might already have apprentices with us, or you might be thinking about it. We offer a kind of end-to-end recruitment service. So I've got 2,000 students here. They all graduate at the end of the year, and they all pop off to universities, jobs, or apprenticeships. And so we have a ready-made cohort, but we also take in from outside, and we do the recruitment for you. We find people. So we find really good students, we interview them, get them in the right place, and then we set them up and we put them in front of you, and you can interview them and decide whether or not you want them in your organisation as an apprentice. We do all the paperwork, and there's loads of red tape going on, and we do all the training. So it's a really fabulous offer that we do, and we try and make it easy, effectively, for employers to do that. And we're also thinking of setting ourselves up as a bit of a recruitment agency as well in the future, because we're thinking that's what we are, really. And so we know that there's a number of people who just want to hire really good candidates. So that's something we also look out for in the future. So I won't say too much more. The last thing I'd say is to echo what Keith's saying, really about the drive for apprenticeships. Degree apprenticeships are really taking off, really pushing. People are looking at the debt and they're looking at this whole thing. And I think they'll have a knock-on effect. I think if degree apprenticeships become more popular, they'll have a knock-on effect to the level 3 and the level 2. It'll become desirable and there'll be the kudos, oh, you can carry on and keep going on to a degree. So I think it will actually filter backwards a little bit. Although we've been running level 2 and level 3 for ages, I think if degrees really take off, it'll actually start to filter the other way. So I think in the next 10 years, it's going to be really exciting with apprenticeships. So enough of the adults and academics talking. I'm introducing Matt, who is as an apprentice. I'm going to tell you about his experience. Do you want to come up, Matt? Thank you very much, everybody.
Can you guys hear me, or do I need the microphone? Yeah, perfect. So yeah, my name is Matt. 18 months ago, I started off as an apprentice at the Royal Hospital of Neurodisability. You kind of can say I was like Jon Snow. I didn't know anything. But the apprenticeship really worked for me. The college helped find what skills fit my role and where I would be good at. And the apprenticeship was for digital marketing. And we've got to say, it was a great fit because I finished with distinction. So pretty proud of myself there. It really works for me because, first of all, it was really flexible. So not only did I go into work, I could apply the things I learned, but also the things I learned, I don't know about you guys, but academically, it does really sink in unless you get your hands-on experience with it. So what I learned about markets, analytics, coding, be it planning campaigns, be it even media production, all of that, I got to try and test. So it wasn't just learning and retaining it and forgetting about it and then going to a job application being like, oh yeah, I know those skills. I actually know those skills and I do them every day. It was really interesting. I got a lot of support. I was really good because I had a good mentor, my boss. I was lucky enough that he started as an apprentice, so he kind of knew how to tailor my journey for me, my position, how to learn, how to gain experience in the job. For those people like me, I came out of college not knowing if I want to go into university, and I came in at a time where COVID hit. So it was truly lockdown. I didn't have anything to do. No one was hiring. But then the college really helped me out find my way. Get this job, help me through it, provide all the learning materials for me. Just tailored my way so I had no problems in my experience. Really, it was just a standout journey throughout the whole way. So if you are thinking about hiring apprentices, they do really work. It worked since the 1600s. It works today. So yeah. Thank you.
I'm now going to invite Richmond Work Match to speak about their service. This is Richmond Council's service for recruitment purposes. So Ricky, would you come to us? And thank you so much, Keith Smith and Gavin Hughes.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay? Yeah? Hi, so I'm Ricky. I come from Richmond Work Match. So Richmond and Wandsworth Work Match was actually founded about 10, 11 years ago in response to the regeneration of Battersea Power Station. So what it is about is recruiting locally. So think of all of that work coming into the area for such a big project. And you can imagine a lot of the time they're getting people from outside of the area to travel into the area. What that means is that local people aren't really accessing the opportunities that they should be able to access. So that's where we come in. And our role is to make sure that local businesses are hiring locally. So from the whole construction of Battersea Power Station, it went great. And we started recruiting for the retail and hospitality outlets within there. And it expanded across the Wandsworth Borough. 3 years ago, we introduced it to Richmond. So we're only 3 years old in Richmond, not as famous as we'd like to be yet, but we're working on it. And that's part of the reason why I'm so grateful for Anne to have us here today. So yeah, a little bit about our service is very, very simple. There's no criteria to join our service other than to be a Richmond or Wandsworth resident and to have the right to work in the UK. So there's not an age restriction unless you're too young to work, for example. And that's it. You can actually be in work as well. So it could be for anybody in this room who wants a different opportunity, but as we know, finding a job is a job within itself, and it's hard to do while you're already employed. So that's the way that we can help. What we do is we get people to register with our service. We conduct a bit of an action plan, and we decide exactly what it is that they need, or we let them decide what it is that they need in terms of hours, salary, location. All of those things we take into consideration, and then we work with the local employers to match them with the correct opportunities for them. So we're working with lots of local employers at the moment, and we do actually have an annual jobs fair, Employ Richmond. The next one, Employ Richmond, is on the 23rd of February, and I do have some leaflets in my bag which I can give you afterwards. If there is any businesses, we are taking some backup spaces, so if you do want to get involved and have a stand at the event, please let me know. I know that we are actually at capacity at the moment, but we do have a couple of slots for backups as we know that people pull out. So again, if you are interested, please let us know. And yes, I know the college are looking to take our job, but hopefully we can work together on the recruitment side of things. And yeah, that's why I'm so grateful to be able to be here and be part of this, and just let everybody know about WorkMatch. It's a really good service. And yeah, if there's any questions, please feel free to come and talk to me.
Thank you. So today is obviously it's within National Apprenticeships Week, so we wish the college group well with that. And today's event is really to give us the opportunity, the council, the colleges, the Chamber of Commerce, and all of us really, to hear about businesses, how they're responding, how company directors and their teams are responding to skills gaps. What we want to hear it unvarnished so that we can respond and support. And that was the raison d'etre, the reasoning behind this event. Myself with Steve and Councillor Giesler and Gavin here, and all of us at Keith and the team in Harford, we all work together to establish an event, and we'll do more, where we get under the skin, as we would say in business, about what people need and want within the business community. So that is the background of this event. We have two principal speakers. We have Rebecca Upton from RHP, Richmond Housing Partnership. They're an extremely important local firm, actually on Waldegrave Road, so near you, and with 10,000 units, i.e. flats, living establishments, predominantly in Richmond. And they're doing an awful lot. They have tenants as well that they look after and encourage. Many of these residents, tenants, they take up employment, obviously, but they also set up businesses. It's a really interesting business for us all to be working with. So I'm really excited to invite Rebecca Upton to the stage. She's the head of people at RHP. Can you give her a warm welcome, please?
Thank you. I'm just going to make sure the technology works before I start. Always a good start. Thank you. Well, thank you, Anne, for inviting me to talk here today. It's really lovely to see everyone here. What I'm going to be talking about is the skills gaps that we have at RHP Group and a few of the ways that we aim to address those. So first, a very quick introduction about who I am and who we are as a business. So I'm Rebecca. I'm the head of people across RHP Group. So I head up the HR and the learning and development teams at RHP. RHP Group is, as Anne said, a social housing organisation. We offer housing for those people who need it, mainly for individuals and families who are unable to rent or buy in the area. We also provide supported housing to those people who have additional housing related support needs. We have 340 employees across the whole group, and that's made up of 3 organisations. RHP being the main employer, but we also have subsidiary companies with Co-op Homes and also RHP Home. RHP Home started in June last year, and it's our repairs-based subsidiary. We own or manage around 10,000 properties, with about 2,000 of those being for leaseholders. We operate predominantly in Richmond, but also across Hounslow, Kingston and Hampden as well. And my role very much is focused on getting the right people with the right skill in the right job at the right time. So when we're starting to look at skills, we start with the business context. The first point for us is really around what do we want to deliver and why are we here. RHP Group's purpose is to provide safe, secure, affordable homes, opening the door to life opportunities. So if we start thinking about the skills that we need at RHP Group, we can already see things coming through in our purpose. We need people who are going to make sure our homes are safe. We need people who are going to make sure they're secure. And we need to make sure that it's all affordable within our means. We then have to move on to what our vision is and what our strategy is. And our vision and strategy has remained the same for a number of years now. That is to provide the very best customer service and to be an excellent employer. And again, if we start thinking about what skills we need within our vision and our strategy, it's around customer service skills. It's about having people that really can listen to our customers, that can hear what they want and can make sure that we're able to deliver to them when they need us to. Underneath the bigger picture is our strategic delivery plan. That outlines what we want to achieve, our targets, our measures, and our specific actions that are going to make the biggest difference to our customers. That also gives the business and the individuals offering and delivering our service that golden thread from the bottom right through to their team goals, right through to the corporate performance and the ultimate strategic results. As a social housing organisation, we then have a number of regulations that we have to follow. So within those regulations, we know that we need to meet tenant empowerment, we need to meet tenant involvement, we need to meet rent standards, governance standards, financial standards. The list goes on. All of those areas also give us skills that we need to recruit into the business. And on top of that, like any business, but particularly a business with health and safety needs, we know there's a lot of legislation that we need to meet. And in doing so, we need to make sure we have the skills needed in our business to do that. Everything I've said so far doesn't actually cover any of the additional pieces in the context of operating as an organisation. We need to make sure that we're involved with our customers, we need to make sure we can attract and retain talented individuals, and we need people with skills to do all of that as well. So when you start to really break down what skills we need as a business, it's a huge array of what we need and what we want. So, how do we do that actually? At RHP, we've broken it down into 3 different ways. We need people, we need processes, and we need systems. And for us, that is the key to unlocking absolutely everything and really getting to the best successful results. Today, we're going to focus on the people side of this and the skills needed as a result. I thought that would be really great to start with a definition of what I mean by a skill. And at the very basic level, the Oxford Dictionary defines a skill as the ability to do something. I don't think that goes far enough personally, so I really liked this additional expanded definition about skill. For me, a skill is a learned ability which shows that actually it's not something that we possess now, it's something that we do need to learn. It also shows that everyone can learn new skills, no matter who you are, what your past is, everyone can learn a new skill. It's to act with determined results. So you're learning that skill for a purpose. There's an absolute end result of why you want to get there. With good execution, so that shows that you really need to know how and when to apply that skill. Often with good amount of time, so you need to invest your time in that, and also with energy, so you need to actually want to learn a skill, otherwise you won't. So linking in with apprenticeships, for example, you need to have the desire, the energy, and commit the time in order to gain those skills, otherwise it simply won't be a success for you or for the organisation you're working with. So for me, this expanded definition of a skill, and it's important that we know that when we start looking at skills gaps, really shows it's more than just being able to do something. It's about having the drive to do it. It's about needing to keep it relevant and make sure that it's fresh for your organisation. So when I think about the 3 high-level skills across RHP, including the context that we've already discussed, The people skills that I bring it down to are the three shown here on the screen. So we need leadership skills. We need people to really drive and deliver our business, to take us in the right direction and to make sure that we can achieve. And it's important that we have that. We place a huge emphasis on being an excellent employer at RHP. We want to motivate, we want to inspire, and we want to include everyone at our organisation. And in doing so, we know we need to have the very best leaders. We also know that we need to have people who have the technical skills. At the end of the day, we need an accountant, and if you don't have the accountancy skills, for example, you simply wouldn't be able to do the job. So technical skill is very important. We also place a huge importance on behavioural or personal skills, and for us that's actually more important than technical skill. We believe that technical skill can be trained and it can be learnt over time, but it's quite hard to change a person and how they approach different factors. So for us, personal and behavioural skill is really important. To bring skills into the organisation, there's a number of different ways, and all of you here today will know these different ways, so I'm going to skim through them. We know that they are all very important though, so recruitment, training, apprenticeships as we've had this morning, experiences, so on-the-job experiences can be just as important as well. That hands-on learning, as we heard, is so important to different learning abilities and skills. Projects, secondments, there's many, many different ways that you can bring skill into your organisation. Not having the right skills though and not being able to deliver is going to have an impact on your longer term results. So making sure that actually you have ways to address those skills both for today and the future is really important. And today I'm going to talk through 3 different ways that we have aimed to address the skills gap at RHP. There are different opportunities that I could have spoken about. So for example, there's a huge amount of experienced individuals that are looking for term time working because they may be parents and don't want to work the whole year round. That's a huge amount of skill that we could tap into, for example. So offering term time contracts could be a way to plug the skills gap. I've chosen, however, to look at 3 different opportunities that we have at RHP so that we can just talk through a bit of them. One of them is a difficulty that we have with recruiting technical skill. Another is the difficulty with recruiting technical skill matched to the behavioural skill. And then a third is a corporate-wide initiative known entirely as our Thriving Frame. So let's start with surveyors. I have assumed that we'll start from the basic of what a surveyor does. So a surveyor is very much a building-related role. Surveying skills are in increasingly high demand across the organisation, but also across the sector and the UK as a whole. Probably the biggest and highest demand for surveying skills we're seeing at the moment since the financial crisis in 2008. So in 2008 there was an abundance of surveyors across the job market. There was a huge amount. Houses were booming, there was lots of property happening, so surveyors actually was a skill that was really there and available in the marketplace. That meant it was an employer-led ability to pick who you wanted. Obviously the financial crisis meant that people weren't building houses, people weren't focused as much on their building, and so lots of surveyors at that time left the profession and there wasn't as many surveying skills available. It does take a long time to become a surveyor, and actually as the need has increased over the last 5 years or so, we are seeing a huge shortage of surveyors in the market. There's expanding regulations as a result of tragedies such as Grenfell Towers that mean that anyone involved in buildings or construction has to comply with all of those regulations, and they have to make sure they have the people who have the correct skill to do that. We also know that the construction industry is booming at the moment as well. People are, after the COVID lockdowns, looking to expand their property and looking to get bigger, and actually as a result, surveyors are in high demand. In the social housing sector, there's also been a huge focus on damp and mould, and also the skills related to damp and mould are in huge demand across the whole social housing sector. So actually, a lot of people are looking for surveying skills. We have gone out and we have started to recruit for surveyors, and we have noticed that we're experiencing that shortage. So what we have chosen to do instead is to create a pipeline of surveyors that are coming into RHP. We've found that often the surveyors in the marketplace at the moment have the technical skill, but they don't always have the customer service focus that we're looking for as well. And so actually, if we create our own and we offer an apprenticeship for a surveyor, It's a fantastic route for the sector, it's a fantastic route for the job market, but it also means that we can really train and deliver the customer service aspect for RHP as well. We have 3 values at RHP. We know our stuff, we make it happen, and we care. For us, offering apprenticeships really sings to we know our stuff and we care. We want people to be able to deliver their jobs, firstly because it makes it meaningful work for the individual, but secondly it means we can deliver as a business. We also want to show we care. We care in the individual, we care in developing the skills needed for the future, and we care for our customers to make sure that we have the right level of skill to deliver what they need. It is a new initiative, and actually we're interviewing tomorrow for the role, so hopefully we will be able to say that we have been successful. So it is a new initiative. It's not something that we've tried before, but it is something that we think is really going to plug that future gap. However, linked to that, there is that gap at the moment. So we are, as a business, experiencing increased costs in order to have the surveying skills we need. And we are having to make sure that we offer additional customer service training, for example, to surveyors coming into our business to make sure that we do deliver it. Another opportunity that we have to plug our skills gaps is through a trainee housing advisor role. This relates to one of our subsidiary companies, Co-op Homes. So Co-op Homes have about 25 employees. They are a housing organisation, so they also deliver housing opportunities for individuals. We've been out 3 times to recruit for a housing advisor, both internally and externally, and we just weren't finding the people that have both the behavioural skills focused on customers, as well as the technical skills that a housing advisor would need. We didn't want to compromise on either, so we took a very brave decision not to recruit. We decided that actually, instead, is there a different way of doing this? Is there a different way of making sure we have both the technical and the customer service focus that we need? We have people internally who are really hungry to develop, who really want to learn new skills and who want to develop a good career path going forward for themselves. They have the behaviours, they have the customer service focus that we're looking for, they just don't have the technical skill. And it is a large jump from our call centre, for example, right up to being a housing advisor. It's a huge amount of knowledge that people need to gain in order to deliver the very best service. So we thought, actually, let's take a step back. How can we kind of meet both of those needs? We need someone in the housing advisor role, and we also want to make sure that we're developing our people. So we decided to offer an internal trainee housing advisor role to 2 individuals. That was a 6-month position. They would gain work experience by shadowing some of our existing housing advisors, and they would also gain their Level 2 Chartered Institute housing qualification. At the end of those 6 months, we said we would commit, if they were successful, to offer them a permanent housing advisor job that came with increased responsibility, increased salary, and increased recognition across the business. We have offered 2 of those individuals. We're a year on, so we had 2 individuals go through the scheme. One of them was incredibly successful and is now a fully fledged housing advisor doing incredibly well. The second actually decided partway through the 6 months that it wasn't the right opportunity for her. She wasn't able to gain, she wasn't as interested and didn't have that desire to gain that increased housing knowledge. She decided that her career path should be different. She moved back into our call centre and continues to perform incredibly well in her current position. She's decided that she wants to take a step back, she wants to think about where she wants to go, and she then wants to have a different opportunity. Now, some people might see that as a bit of a failure, but actually for us it's really important because it shows a huge spotlight on our learning culture at RHP. Actually, sometimes it is about trying something, learning something new, and deciding that this isn't for me. I can't deliver everything that I need to deliver. And it is about really trying different things and putting yourself out there. We're incredibly proud of the individual that tried and it didn't work, because actually for us, learning and choosing a different path is just as important as being successful on the value you're on. And then the third and final initiative that I wanted to talk you through is our climbing frame. So we know as a small business, we're not always able to offer opportunities to people who want to learn and develop. We don't have lots of people leaving our business. Our average length of service is 8 years, and every year over the past 6 years, it's grown. And actually, it's fantastic to keep people, it's great to retain talented individuals, but it is also good to keep skills fresh, and it's good to keep skills and knowledge fresh as well. So for us, we knew that actually sometimes there isn't that typical ladder up, and for people that typical ladder up also might not be the right thing for them either. So again, we took a step back and we thought, what can we do? As a small business, we don't always have opportunities coming up. Let's do something different. So 10 years ago, our climbing frame was born. And it's based on the idea that your career is not a ladder, it's a climbing frame. Sometimes you might need to take a step sideways in order to gain those broad skills rather than those deep skills to get to the next level you want to go to. Sometimes actually you might need to take a step down and really kind of get the basis and the foundation of what you want for your career. And other times you might need to take a diagonal step, be that up, be that down, be that moving around the climbing frame, however you may wish. We have to make sure that actually our climbing frame offers meaningful opportunities for individuals and also means that we can retain talented individuals. You may have heard in recent media this known as the squiggly career. It's a similar initiative, but ours is 10 years old, so we are very proud of it, I have to say. We also know that people's career aspirations change. So you may have wanted to do something when you were younger, I'm sure. I'm going to make a bold assumption that no one is doing the job they thought they would do as they were growing up. And actually there's probably a lot of people in the room here today that aren't doing the same career that they started with when they first went into the world of work. It's based on that idea for us. Sometimes people's aspirations change. Sometimes people just need to see the opportunities that are available to them. And actually being a small to medium-sized organisation, we have talented individuals and we want to help them see that opportunity. So our climbing frame is very targeted at opportunities that will help people develop their career. That might be through a secondment. So for example, I had someone in my team who was going off maternity leave. We needed to backfill a HR administrator role. Now I needed someone who knew the business and could really hit the ground running, someone who had great administration skills, someone who knew our culture, who knew our customer service approach, and who was able to deliver great admin. I didn't need someone who had the years and years of HR technology, HR knowledge, HR skill. I needed someone who could really do administration well. So I thought, what a fantastic 9-month opportunity for someone internally to learn a different area of the business, to learn about HR, see if it's a career for them, give that experience that maybe will have a role, but maybe they might need to go externally, but actually they've had that insight and they've got that experience then on their CV to help them in the future. They were very, very successful, I'm pleased to say, and they want to stay at HR, but unfortunately the person from maternity came back and so we didn't have the position. We have committed, however, to continue to help give them experiences that will support them if they stay at RHP Group or if indeed they were to move on. We also offer project-based activities. So we look at, is there a project that we have going on in the business that actually might be a great opportunity for someone to learn something different. So we have an inclusion network at RHP Group, and it was chaired by one of our executive directors initially. We wanted it to have the most impact for our employees and to have the most meaning for our employees. And we wanted it to be an employee-led network and committee. So we decided, why does it need to be chaired by an executive director? Who says that? Let's get it chaired by an employee. We can offer that employee skills to become a chair. They'll learn how to run meetings, they'll learn how to manage people and kind of bring together different viewpoints and really push it forward in a business-related way. So we offered the position to become the chair of our inclusion network Act. We had lots of people apply, and the person that we have recruited has since been the chair of the inclusion network for the last 3 years. During that time, they've been promoted, and they are now doing an extra responsible role within the business. That is, they base it on the skills they learn as being chair of our inclusion network. They wouldn't have had those skills had we not have stopped and said, let's do a project in a different way. We also offer professional qualifications, which is generally your typical kind of thought about how you plug skills. But for us, it's not just about professional qualifications in the here and now and the job you do. Yes, we support people if they work in our accounts payable team, for example, and want to become an accountant. We support them in their same functional subject area. But we have also supported people in other areas of the business. So, for example, we had someone working in our development team who told us their career aspiration was to become an accountant. Completely different area of the business, but we thought, why not? Let's support her to become an accountant. Now, some people thought that we were not doing the right thing, we weren't investing our money in the right way, because actually she's not going to use those skills necessarily in her day-to-day job. However, what we saw was that focus, that commitment, that loyalty to RHP went up hugely. That individual was completely motivated, completely engaged to deliver in her day job in the development team just as much as she was in Slough. She's since gone on outside of RHP to really kind of keep going and going, but she refers back to RHP as being her fundamental foundation for where her career started. Accreditations is also linked to this, and we know that people need to get accreditations that will also support them. So we offer development opportunities internally for people to get accreditations. We also co-create a lot of our L&D programs at RHP, and we look to get them accredited as well. So not only are the courses that we offer, so for example our leadership development program known as Luminous, because people are lighting the way for others, we have co-created that with external partners. It's in its fourth, coming up to 5th year now, but we have also got this accredited. So if people choose to stay at RHP, they have an accredited course that's fit for our business. But if they choose to move on, they also have an accreditation on their CV showing their commitment to continue to develop. Professional memberships is also linked to that as well, and I've got a personal story for this one. So when I first started at RHP 12 years ago today, I was studying my Masters in HR at the time. And once I had finished that, I really wanted to go on to become a chartered member of the CIPD. But I needed to have work-based experience and I needed to have a work-based reference for that. And again, I received nothing but support to get that within the first year of being at RHP. That really kind of stood me in good stead of what this organisation was about in terms of commitment to learning and in terms of commitment to career progression and getting skills. So we strongly believe that personal and professional development is in the interest of the individual but also the organisation. We know that if employees are learning new skills, not only are they developing themselves, but they're developing us as a business. And this will only help us, our sector, and also for our customers. We've also found that it's had a snowball effect. So where one person's wanting to learn something new, we give them an opportunity. It then encourages and gives other people the confidence to do that too. People don't have to stay in their same job. They can move around. But also it's okay to stay in the same job. And you can continue to learn new skills in that job too. However you see your future, we want to aim to help that skill. For us, being continuously focused on that is a commitment that we have to make day in, day out. If we don't help people to continue to get better as a business, we're going to stagnate, we're not going to be fresh for our customers, and we're going to miss opportunities to expand, to grow, and to continue to better our service. So everything we do through our climbing frame, through our learning and development activities, through skills gaps, through our apprenticeships, everything is focused on getting better for the future for our customers. We want to build satisfaction, we want to build commitment, and we want to build development. But we also want to have a lasting legacy, because actually, if people do leave RHP, and we aren't naive enough to think that people won't, when people do, we want to know that we've had that lasting legacy for them as an individual. Partly because it's fantastic on a one-on-one basis, but partly as well because it means that our reputation out there will be huge. People will want to come and work for us. People will want to come and make sure that they can offer something because they know they'll get something in return. So some very high-level business results. 74% of our employees report that they're developing professionally and personally whilst working at RHP. We've got 4.65 out of 5 stars on Glassdoor for career development, and we're a 4.8 star out of 5 Glassdoor organisation. About 21% of our organisation have experienced the climbing frame through one way or another in the last 2 years alone. Development opportunities appears as one of the top 3 trends as why people stay at RHP. We conduct quarterly stay interviews with a range of our employees, and they tell us consistently that career development, skills, gap planning, and making sure that they're fit to deliver is really important. 71.5% of our internal promotions have gone to women, which has really broken down that glass ceiling perception that there is out there. And over the last 12 years since I've been at RHP, employee satisfaction has on average been around 90%, with the highest employee satisfaction rate being 97%. What we've seen from that is actually people are committed, people are engaged, people are focused on delivering for our customers, and our business results follow. Where we take our foot off the gas, where we're not as focused on skills gaps, where we're focused on results instead, actually our business results have suffered over the years. So what are the current challenges that we're facing at RHP? We're considering some of the different approaches that people take to life at RHP Group. And I said it to a couple of you when we were having a coffee earlier. So very much for our culture, we look at whether people are culture citizens or whether they're culture consumers. So by culture citizens, what we mean is that people come in and they want to contribute to life at RHP. Yes, they take all of the amazing opportunities that we have, but they also give back. They see problems, they solve them, they fix them without us having to get involved. They want to make life better at RHP for each other and for our customers. On the other end, we have culture consumers. So they're the people that come in, they may do a good enough day job, but they come in, they go home, and life is no different as a result. Actually, we want to encourage citizenship in our culture because we want people to take ownership of making things better, and we want people to take ownership of getting the skills they need to help our business in the future. So if we can make and encourage people to do that for themselves, again, it's only going to have a positive impact for our business. So we're working towards moving a lot of our culture towards citizenship rather than consumer. We've also seen the impact on a team internally of their reputation. So we had a team that should have been a fantastic opportunity for people to move into, to learn and grow. However, the team had low satisfaction, they didn't have clarity coming through in the goals, and they weren't hitting their targets. It meant when opportunities came up in this team, we weren't able to recruit internally. People simply didn't want to go into that team. So again, we've looked at that team, we've worked with the individuals and the manager and the leaders in that team to help kind of give some of those leadership skills that will inspire and motivate employees. We do have skills gaps at RHP, and we know we are always going to, but we always want to take a proactive approach because actually we need to make sure we plug them as quickly as we possibly can. We also know that a lot of what we do in terms of employee culture and employee experience is there to attract and retain talented individuals. And our approach to skills gaps, our approach to skills development is no different. That all helps to make sure that we can attract people. Finally, we know that change does happen though, so both to our organisation and also to people. Skills that we need change, the combination of skills we need change, and also the roles that we need. People's aspirations also change, and how we can all work together to make sure that as a business we're future-proof, we're skills-proof, and we're ready to deliver no matter what's thrown at us is really important. So my final slide, just with some 4 key takeaways from this morning. So remember, when you're addressing a skills gap, you're addressing much, much more than just the skill gap. It is about the culture of the organisation. You're making sure that people know you're committed to learning. Learning should be a key part of your culture. If it isn't, you need to really kind of look and think, why isn't it? Because actually you are going to be missing opportunities, both for your people, but also for your customers and your organisation. The difference between culture citizen and culture consumer is a really good way of looking at that. We can't always give learning opportunities on the plate. People need to be hungry for them, and they need to put their hand up and step outside of their comfort zone. Skills gaps should be purposeful. They should be aligned to what your business is doing. You can't just take an off-the-shelf approach to skills gap and think that it'll always apply to you. If you think about what's vital for your business, what's vital for the organisations you work with, and also what's vital for your customers, then you'll get to a successful outcome. And finally, what's the lasting legacy? We all want to make sure that as individuals we have meaningful impact. We want to make sure we have meaningful result, and we want to be proud at the end of the day of what we're doing. So what is the lasting legacy of why you're investing in skills gap analysis, why you're investing in career development, and how can it make a difference to individuals, customers, and also your business? And that's all I have to say.
Well, there we are. Thank you very much indeed. And now we have Harlequins Rugby, so if you would like to step forward. We have Lucy Elliott, she's the People Director, and Andy Carpenter, who we know well at the college, I know, is Chief Executive of the Foundation, Harlequins Rugby. foundation. So it'll be interesting to hear about their skills gaps and what they're doing to transition. I thought the climbing frame was great. When you think of the old days when we were coming up through, many of us, it was all about a straight line, wasn't it, really, for most people? So, not always, but often, certainly big organisations. So, they're just plugging their computer in. And this is the final presentation of today, so we hope you're finding it interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just addressing Andy's skills gap because he spelled my surname wrong, which is not a great start to proceeding. No, Andy has, not you, Andy. I think you spelled it right. So, it's just a change. So we'll just sorting out check.
Giving it away now.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. So we're going to tag team it this morning. As introduced, I head up the HR function at Quins. I've been at the club for about 2.5 years now, I think. But when I joined, completely new to elite sport. Been in HR a long time, but my background before that was FMCG, and before that was in TV from an HR perspective. So came with a very naive perspective, not a big rugby fan. So it's been interesting, really interesting. Do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. So Andy Carpenter, the head of the foundation at Harlequins, so the charitable arm of the club. In a similar way, had a very limited exposure or relationship with rugby before joining Quins. So I spent 7 or 8 years working at the charitable football foundation in South East London before the opportunity arose for me to switch allegiances and join Harlequins. But I always say, it's the type of place where once you get in, it gets into you. And I wouldn't have ever been caught dead watching a game at the Valley, but a match day at the Stoop is something I thoroughly enjoy. So it's a great working environment.
Yes, agreed. So I thought it would be helpful just to, again, don't know how many of you are rugby fans, but just to provide a little bit of context and background, because I think that really sets the scene for what's to come. So effectively founded in 1866, we won the men's and the women's premierships in 2021, currently sitting second in the table for the men. Our women are having a slightly more challenging season, but we had an incredible victory at the Stoop this weekend. And we've just proceeded to knock out rugby in Europe as well, which is an incredible achievement. So we're just on a break for the Six Nations, very much sort of all to play for the rest of the season. So we're based at Twickenham Stoop, just across the road, but we have also got our training ground, which is based down in Guildford. So on a good run, about 30 minutes. At the moment with the M25, it's like a good hour to kind of head down there. And again, that's sort of useful context, I suppose, for what's to come. And we're made up really, I guess, of 4 key teams sitting within that. So our men's squad and the performance staff that work with them, women's squad, the performance staff that work with them, our foundation, and then the support staff that are based over at the Stoop that support all the kind of commercial undertakings, so marketing, digital, our sales teams, HR, finance, operations, ticketing, etc., etc. So it's a really diverse group that I are responsible for. So again, I suppose just to then take it to the next level was just to provide a bit of background and context on our culture. So we kind of live by the acronym TRUE, which stands for Tempo, Relationships, Unconventional and Enjoyment. And that really was a piece of work that we undertook about 2.5 years ago to really understand our DNA and what it means to be a Quin. And we had a performance consultant, a guy called Owen Eastwood, who has recently worked on the Ryder Cup, had previously worked with the England football team, come in and help really sort of excavate our culture, talk to ex-players, supporters, staff, and really understand kind of what's important and what resonates with people when they think about being Quinn, which is where HRUC came from. And actually what transpired as we went through those conversations is that really it's been living in our DNA for years. And Conor O'Shea, who used to be one of our coaches, who's now at the RFU, had a very sort of similar acronym, but I think over time it had just been lost. So we did a lot of work a couple of years ago to re-excavate that, and really that underpins everything we do. So whether it is about skills, whether it is about recruitment and behavioural fit, everything that we do kind of ladders back. And actually the U for unconventional is a brilliant opportunity to sort of do what you want and just say you're being unconventional. So even when approaching this presentation today, it was like, well, skills gaps might have a slightly different take on that, but we're unconventional, so that's fine. So I talked a little bit about our structure. So we're based over 2 sites. That creates its own challenges, I think, in terms of connection and collaboration, and we'll come back to that. And some of us, me, Andy, probably have more reasons to be down at Guildford. I look after the staff group down there as well. I'll be down there a couple of times a week, but others don't really have a reason to be down there. So how do we create the sense of connection and collaboration across the 2 sites when often they'll only meet on a match day or kind of at special events? And then our workforce diversity. So I guess for me that comes from 2 angles. One is, I think, generationally, there are some really interesting challenges around Gen Zs who are kind of coming through, what motivates them, what they're driven by, versus some of the kind of baby boomers and other generations who are maybe heading slightly towards the end of their career, or aren't in fact, but have very different needs and requirements. So I think when we're thinking about skills gaps, careers planning, we're trying to manage it across both ends of that scale actually, and create a culture and an environment and a development pathway for people that works for where people are in their lives and what's important to them at that moment. And then we're also, I've sort of touched on it, but 2 locations, 4 teams, and also in a post-COVID world. And I think one of the things that's been really interesting for us, and we'll come back to it around skills gaps, has been around collaboration. And actually when I joined Quinn's, we were up at the Stoop, we were on a sort of 3-2 working split, with working from home and working in the office. And actually what came out of our most recent engagement survey was that people were starting to feel quite disconnected. And we already have to work quite hard, as I said, to keep those 2 locations feeling connected. And actually what came out is that even at the Stoop, people were saying, we don't really feel that connected with marketing anymore because they're not in on the days we're in, and we're not making traction with things as fast as we should be, because either we're not in the office on the same days, or if we are in the office on the same days, we're all in back-to-back meetings, and therefore we're not having those kind of water cooler conversations, should we just grab a coffee and quickly chat stuff through. So that's been something that we've really had to think about over the last sort of 6 to 12 months, and very different down in Guildford as well, because actually if the team are training, then everybody's in. So that doesn't tend to lend itself to a working from home environment. So some really sort of interesting challenges we've experienced there. So in terms of I've less called them skills gaps, but more skills challenges, I think. I think because of the strength of our brand and the strength of our culture, we generally, I would say, have found it historically pretty easy to fill skills gaps when they emerge. I think we have pretty low turnover, and when we do have opportunities, we generally find that when we go to market, we're quite fortunate in that actually the strength of the brand and the culture and the environment that we operate in is always quite a lure for people. So we generally don't have a huge amount of gaps, but we definitely have some challenges. And the first one of those that I touched on, I think, is around collaboration, is how do we connect the different sites, how do we get people back in. We made the decision about 6 months ago actually to move to 4 days a week in the office, not 6, it feels like it. To 4 days a week back in the office. Just to really, we said we'll trial it for 6 months, we'll get your feedback, but we really feel like that we're losing that sense of connection, and the culture is starting to be impacted as a result of it. So we've moved to it, the 6 months has just come and gone. I think there was a little bit of frustration with it to begin with. It obviously does create additional travel costs for people, which in the current climate is not ideal. But generally speaking, the feedback has been, we recognise the benefit, we see the value. And I think for us there's the extra complexity of lots of our staff also work on a match day, so we're not a Monday to Friday 9 to 5. We've also might have a men's game on a Saturday, a women's game on a Sunday, and then we need to give loo days to people in compensation for that. So that adds that extra level of complexity. But I think getting people back into the spirit of being in the office, having quick chats at desks, it doesn't have to be on email, it doesn't have to be on Teams, you don't need to send someone a WhatsApp, just go and talk to them. It's a much quicker way of building relationships and getting stuff done, I think is something that we've really had to work on. And I think particularly that generation that, you know, potentially left university or entered the workplace right in the grips of COVID, they've never done 5 days in the office. They don't understand the value, and maybe it's just because I'm old, but they don't understand the value of, you know, overhearing conversations in the office, building relationships across teams, and so we're really trying to drive that forward. And I think generally there's good recognition, I think, that it's the right thing to do for the club. Diversity of skill requirements. So I think for me, compared to anywhere else I've worked, the diversity of what we look for and the skills that we need across the club are huge. You know, from everyone based at the Stoop who might, you know, from marketing to operations experience to finance experience, through to physios, strength and conditioning, nutritionists, coach, you know, our coaches. It's an unbelievably diverse skill set that we look for the different roles that we do. And I think similar to what you heard earlier, for us there is, you know, to a degree we can train technical skills, but what we can't train is that fit and that cultural element of it. So we would definitely, with each role, I think, strike that right balance between some of this stuff we can train, but what we can't do is get people who really buy in and want to invest in the culture that we've got. Talent retention is definitely a skills challenge for us. I think people, they come to Quins, they love the brand, they love working here, but we are a small organisation. We are hierarchically quite flat, and so I think if people are considering their careers in quite a linear way, then we will reach points where people say there's nowhere for me to go. You know, I can't see the career path for me here. And that is definitely something that's come out quite strongly in our engagement surveys over the last few years. So I am going to use the term squiggly career, which makes me very modest compared to the climbing frame. But we are really challenging line managers and employees to look at doing things in a slightly more creative way. You know, it could be that you know, when we do have turnover, which again isn't that frequent, and so again what that can create is also a sense that you're blocked above because your line manager's not going to go anywhere. So we've really tried to think creatively when people leave, look at potentially not always filling a role with a permanent headcount, but maybe doing it fixed term, which then allows the person underneath to have another year to grow before that fixed term contract ends. Or we've said, well, we're not going to replace like for like, we're going to cut that role and do it slightly differently. So we really try and think when we do have those opportunities to recruit about how can we use this as an opportunity to develop internal talent, and then potentially, if there is a headcount to be filled, we do it at the bottom and we use it to sort of push everybody else up. That said, there are certain roles where, you know, that won't work. If we're looking for kind of medical professionals or strength and conditioning experts, that we need them to come with, you know, with the skill sets. But even with that group, we will try and move people across our different teams. So you might start in our women's programme or working with our academy, but actually then an opportunity comes up on our men's programme, which is obviously you know, more intense, etc. And so then we will look at trying to move people across the different playing groups that we've got as well to build their experience. So always really trying to question, are there different and kind of unconventional ways that we can look at people's career and talent development and fill the skills gaps that we might have coming up. The other thing that we're always working with is budget restrictions. So I'm sure you've all read in the press the challenges that face the rugby landscape, and you know, whilst we're doing incredibly well, those challenges are ongoing, and so we will always have to think about our skills gap and talent development in the context of quite minimal budgets. How can we use the little bit of, or not the little bit, but the limited resources that we've got to ensure we're developing people as much as we can, and we're also prioritising that in the right areas. So that will create times when we have to think about, well, we've got two individuals, we think they're great, which might be the individual that has the skills that are most in requirement or hardest to replace or whatever, and have to focus our efforts in a particular area. So we will always have to think about that in the context of, yeah, how can we be creative? And one of the ways that we're really trying to look at the moment is around how can we better exploit our apprenticeship levy, you know, which is a pot that we could and should be using. And we're looking at that across the board as well. So actually, when we think about our players and life after rugby, you know, are there opportunities within the apprenticeship levy that we could be utilising better to provide the next steps in development and training for players, equally to staff that are, you know, within the rest of the organisation. And then again, I think it's just, I mean, I've touched on it a lot, but I think, you know, culture is just a huge part of what makes the club so special. And I think it is making sure that we are recruiting, and it was touched on before, but you've got those behavioural skills and that cultural buy-in that continues to drive the club forward. And then I guess in terms of what's worked well, I think it has constantly been connecting everything back to our culture. You know, we talk about enjoyment, we talk about relationships, we talk about tempo. Are the choices that we're making around skills gaps and development for individuals, do they connect back up to that? Is there a level of frustration that things are taking too long, or you know, we're not considering the relationships as part of it? So really having that at the heart of the decisions that we make around talent development and skills challenges that we might have. Ongoing iteration, so we're really comfortable to sort of not rest on our laurels and keep challenging ourselves around, could we try something different? Let's give it a go. Let's see, you know, see if it works for an individual. Let's see if it doesn't. Again, I think to the point that was talked about earlier, sometimes things don't work, or people try it and they realise it's not for them. But I think that's fine, and better to try and realise you've learned a lesson, I think, than not try at all. I touched on it earlier, but I think there's a book called The Beautiful Constraint, which is about how you can come up with incredible ideas when you've got very sort of tight constraints and parameters around things. And I think, you know, for us, when I think around kind of budgets and also resource, you know, we are lean sort of structurally as well, both from a sort of supporting, you know, HR perspective, but also within the business. You know, we don't have sort of nice to have headcounts. We're always thinking about how can we make sure that, you know, we are as efficient and as effective as possible. And with that comes some parameters around, you know, what you can do. And what that does force us to do is to try and think creatively about things, to act quickly, and to, I guess, try stuff internally and give things a go and see if they work. And I think compared to other places where I've worked, where, you know, budgets and headcount have been, you know, bigger and freer, it definitely focuses the mind in terms of where do you want to get to, and what's the best way of getting there. And then finally, we keep asking. You know, we keep asking ourselves, could we do it better? We keep raising stuff from a management team perspective, and we keep asking employees as well, whether it's in our engagement surveys, whether it is in our exit interviews, whether it's in post-probation check-ins or people's performance conversations. You know, where do you want to get to? What's working well? What do you think you need? Where are the gaps? And continuing then to go back to iterating it on the basis of that to make sure that we're really making sure that what we're hearing is then what we're feeding into what we're trying, and that we're prioritising that based on the best, the sort of strongest themes that are coming through. You know, we don't have the kind of the capacity to do everything, so really understanding what matters most to our employees then allows us to think about, okay, well, those are the areas that we're going to focus on with the restraints that we've got.
Marvellous, thank you. So I was thinking, just listening to Lucy there, and I suppose the last couple of days when we've been talking about the presentation, there's two elements of kind of the ability for our staff to collaborate effectively and work as part of the team, but also how you engage and continually support and develop the staff. kind of almost reinforces why the work that we deliver as a charitable foundation in our local community is so important. So for context, the foundation was established in 2015 as obviously the charitable arm of the club. So in the wider context of charitable sports foundations, actually still a relatively young charity. The football club I left celebrated its 25th year anniversary the year I left, and have subsequently gone on to celebrate 30 years plus. So still a relatively young charity in our own right. And I think over the last few years we've gone through a kind of a period in which we've tried a lot of things, some of which have been really successful and others of which haven't necessarily been so successful. But I think we've done that, and as a result of that, we've come out of that process with a clear understanding of who we are, what the difference we can make to our local community, and why our work is becoming increasingly important. One of the things I think that was central to that development was our relationship with an organisation called Skills Builder, or now the Skills Builder Partnership. So they're an organisation that have identified what they now call the 8 essential skills. So the icon's in the top left-hand corner of the screen there. So speaking, listening, problem solving, creativity, aiming high, staying positive, and teamwork and leadership. And interestingly, teamwork and leadership skills are known as the collaboration pair, and the aiming high and staying positive are the kind of self-management skills, I suppose. So those kind of areas of skills that we look for in staff that work in the wider business are really required in that sense. So I suppose when we first came across Skills Builder, my first thought was actually they're the 8 skills that you want in the elite men and women's players at Quins. Don't you need players that can think creatively and problem solve under pressure, manage their emotions in a high pressure environment, work effectively as part of the team. But they're also the same skills that I want my daughter to develop when she goes to school, but also the young people that engage in our programmes when they have the opportunity to develop those skills as well. So there's a real synergy between those skills and sports. And what we started out by saying to Skills Builder was, as coaches, we can be way more purposeful in developing those skills in young people. Do I think that sport naturally lends itself to young people developing teamwork skills? Absolutely. But can our staff be way more purposeful in having that as an outcome from our work and not just a byproduct? Absolutely. Really what they are is a highly transferable set of skills that really enable an individual to apply both the basic and the technical skills. So the basic skills you hope the young person will learn through their typical academic study, so numeracy, literacy and the digital skills that they need to succeed, but also the more technical, sector-specific, work-based skills that they will learn through either long-term academic study or on-the-job training. So it's those 8 essential skills. The better or more rounded an individual is, the better they're able to apply those basic and technical skills later on in life. The key part of the framework and our work with Skills Builder is they've managed to kind of codify and make the skills measurable and most importantly teachable, or in our context, coachable. So you can work with a group of young people and move them up the framework and give them the opportunity to practice those skills in a real life setting and demonstrate that they've actually kind of improved against them. So ultimately that led to us creating a coach's handbook. So it's a really practical resource for a coach of any sporting discipline that shows a coach how you can embed those skills within a session that you're delivering. So regardless if you're delivering cricket, rugby, football, swimming, archery, tennis, Eton fives, there's a way in which you can develop those skills in the young people that you work with through your session. Why are they so important? So Skills Builder have subsequently gone on to do a lot of research around the impact of those skills. And they've been able to prove that. They improve an individual's social mobility. They reduce the likelihood of anyone spending long-term unemployment, and in a young person's context, a long extended period of time of not in education, employment or training, so have a real impact on an individual's life outcome. They've shown that there's a correlation between your proficiency at the essential skills and your potential earnings. So a 9 to 12% wage premium, the more effective you are at those skills. So moving from the middle percentage to the top quartile means you experience a 9 to 12%, which in real terms is about £3,500 to £4,500 for the average UK earner per year. And then it has a significant impact on an individual's job satisfaction and life satisfaction. But fundamentally what it really does is give an individual that platform to learn. So we were talking yesterday about a colleague who works in the operations team who didn't necessarily come in with all the kind of technical knowledge and skills that was required to run a match day at Parliament. But he had the essential skills, he was a well-rounded individual, and we knew that we could teach him those more technical skills, and he had the ability to then deploy them effectively in the workplace. So it gives that platform for an learn those more sector-specific skills later on in life. And then I always like this one, £22.2 billion. Their research has shown the cost to the UK economy of low essential skills. So on a micro level, if we're able to support the young people that we work with to develop those skills, locally they go into employment and are more effective as part of our workforce. But nationally, improving people's skill scores across the piece has a major impact on our economy. So for us, I suppose our journey in terms of the development of those skills has been quite significant. So we started by kind of outlining that coach's handbook and embedding that work within our sport sessions. But over the last year or so, we've really worked hard at embedding the development of those skills across every single bit of work that we now deliver. So regardless of whether we're delivering a tag rugby session in a primary school, a girls rugby session in a secondary school, our post-16 study programme at the school, regardless of what it is, young people who come into contact with us will have an opportunity to develop those skills. And it gives us a really tight focus on what we're trying to achieve and what our staff are trying to achieve with the young people that we work with. All of that ultimately culminates in our ability to prove the impact that we have. So in the 21-22 season, we were able to demonstrate that we generated just over £3 million worth of social value for our society, or for our community rather. And in the latest season, 22-23, we were able to demonstrate £3.4 million worth of social value. So by narrowing our focus and really turning our attention to supporting the development of those skills in the young people that we work with, has really improved the value that we create as a result of our programmes. And then lastly, I suppose, my bit is now turning our attention internally to our staff. So it's great that they have the ability to support young people to develop their skills, but how are we supporting our staff in terms of their continuous progression? I think some of the other research that Skills Build have done shows that as you hit your 40s, your progression against those the essential skills tends to diminish. So it doesn't just flatline, it goes backwards. And actually, without purposeful intervention about supporting people's continued progression, then it can have a tendency to go backwards. So our attention over the next sort of 12 to 18 months will be around our staff, their continuing development, where they are against that framework, and putting them in positions where they have the opportunity to acquire those skills, practice them in a real life setting, and continue their personal development. So, yeah, that's good.
Amazing, thank you very much. I thought now we could stop and have a cup of coffee. You've been sat here for an hour and I hope it was interesting for you all. But please, is that okay, Anna, if they have a cup of coffee and relax a little now, and you can obviously approach people with your questions personally. But thank you so much for coming along and supporting this event and for sharing the learnings and the outcomes. Phil, you were looking on that way.
No.
Okay. And thank you, Madam Mayor, for supporting the event as well, and Natalia, obviously. And Susan Shaw, thank you very much for all you've done in the background, and all of you for coming along. So really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.